We've got a very, very full agenda for this morning, so we're going to have to stay close to on time. We're going to have to manage, and in the event we get into extended debate, we may have to put a pin in it and bring it back for later. We've got a pretty good list of topics we're going to cover this morning. We'll start with SFM, who's going to update us on marketing for Morristown Landing. Some of the next steps we're doing there in terms of how we're doing. Hopefully you noticed the construction side over there. We are making progress. It doesn't look like a lot at this point, but we will see some additional progress very soon. Following Greg, we'll have a presentation from Lowe's, who will update us on some projects we have to do with Fulton Hill Park, as well as some issues with regard to the destruction of Morristown Landing. We'll take a very brief break, and I mean brief, and then we'll hear from our friends at Region 1 TDOT about transportation projects, particularly focusing on West AJ in the Alpha community near 160. And then we'll go to Adam and Craig for an update on transportation projects focusing on West AJ and in particular in detail on improvements and concept plan for Thompson Creek. Now, we've got a very full list of topics to cover. We'll need to make sure that you are comfortable with what you're getting, but we can't get in the weeds. So we'll try and encourage you to make good points, ask good questions, enjoy getting the information, but we are going to need to be moving at a pretty good clip. Based on my estimate of what we've got, it's going to run to 12:30 anyway, even if we don't get off track. So we need to stay focused to get things done. After we're done with those presentations, I am going to ask you to hang around and get consensus on next steps. There's several things based on today's presentation we hope to move forward to keep things moving. So as we're going through, we're going to be looking at a lot of details and small pieces trying to put the puzzle together. But hopefully, in the course of the morning, or perhaps this afternoon, you'll step back and you'll think, you know, when we talk about building this facility and doing some of the things that we've done recently, we talked about building for 50 years. The things we're talking about now are generational in nature. We make these improvements. They're really what we're handing off as a legacy to those folks to follow. Bear in mind, we got details to work through, but don't get lost in details so much that we lose focus on the big picture of what we're getting done. Having said that, we'll turn it over to Greg.
Well, I took from that. I got as much time as I need, and we need to get the weeds.
He's perfect. You know that.
Yeah. Hey, I'm pushing pause. Come on, Miss Kay. We're not having a party for Miss Kay's here. Good to see you this morning. Well, hopefully this is the stuff I've got is not the heavy stuff. This is, you know, if there's fun stuff you guys get to do, this should be one of them. This has been the most, and I know I say it, but I'm not going to stop saying it, the most fun project to work on. Best client I've ever had, for sure. Getting to come home and spend time with my mama each evening and still feeling the meatloaf from last night is a lot better than anywhere I get to go. So I appreciate you having me. We're gonna touch on a few things here. Really, the only decision point that I'm going to bring you to today, I'm going to show you two proposed logos for Morristown Landing, and I'd love to get you, and it can be later this afternoon or whatever, to say, hey, we really like that one better than this one if you have a preference. I do, but I'm going to try not to sway you. All right. So we're going to go over the proposed logos. I'm going to take you into what our next steps here are that we'll be working on operationally, what we'll be moving into, so you'll know kind of your decision points that are coming in, what you'll get to plug into. Okay? Sound fair? So, just real quick, they like me to be able to watch, you know, when you ask me the time for just a second. You know, our team, these are the people, this is good for you to know. The bottom right here is Ariel DeWitt, and she is our marketing coordinator. She works closely with me on this project to really help oversee everything's moving correctly. In the middle is Tristan Makaroff. He's our graphic designer that kind of put all these designs together and works with the national network of artists to kind of build the concepts. And our top is our Vice President of Marketing and Business Development, Ashley Whitaker, who oversees these guys and makes sure quality control and make sure everything's happening right. So we've done this a lot for a lot of venues. They did a deep dive. We've already gone over this, but I just want to kind of build the momentum again. Did a deep dive on Morristown, you know, who Morristown is, talk to different stakeholders that we'll be working with in Morristown to kind of get a feel. And the thing that we've latched onto, if you remember last time, is that aviation history of Morristown. Now, I will tell you, growing up in Morristown, and Morristown West graduate and all that stuff, I didn't know that aviation history of Morristown. Graduated Carson Newman, got out here, went to seminary, didn't know anything about the aviation history of Morristown, to be honest with you. Now, I may be the only one. That's fair. And I didn't always listen in class, so that could be another part. But boy, I've learned a lot. And I think it's something that intrigues people a lot. So I have this vision for you guys of, as we build around kind of that aviation history, Sean and I were talking about what strength it gives to a project when you've got a strong theme to work around. So many times we work with facilities and everybody says, well, we want it to be nice. I'm like, okay, what's nice to you? That doesn't give us a lot of direction, right? But when we've got something, of course it's going to be nice. It's going to be first class, detailed, all those things. But now if we can have kind of that theme, like an aviation theme, to build around, man, it gives it strength and purpose and continuity to a brand and something we can really build around and make memorable. Now, we also don't want to just assume like, oh, well, everybody will get it, why it's aviation. So we're going to look at working with Sean and others as we build out like a cafe and stuff, people sitting there, have, maybe these plexiglass covered plaques, kind of give the background and history of the aviation in Morristown. As you're sitting there eating or whatever, you can learn some things about, the history of Morristown and that aviation part, and why in the second tier roof there's an actual plane with working lights hanging up there suspended when we can't get there. So, we can make it strong and memorable where people are like, oh, I know what you're talking about. That's that. That one was incredible. Because these teams that go around, they travel around and experience different things, and all the facilities are nice, but not necessarily memorable. And I'm going to tell you, yours is well on the way to being a memorable location for the community and for all those who visit. It's really going to be strong. Can't say enough about it. So we looked at different brands, already strong brands out in the marketplace to get kind of that inspiration, give guidance to our team of artists as they develop. So certainly your new city logo is part of the equation, right? We don't have to be just completely out of the blue, not in alignment with that. But also there's other people that use kind of an aviation theme or kind of that winged look and some things like that. And then some of our own venues like Rocky Mountain Event Center and others that we've developed. So those were kind of inspiration. So I'm going to show you two options. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to show you option one, then I'll show you kind of what it would look like maybe on a brochure, and then what it would look like on like merchandise, t-shirts and bottles and water bottles and things. And then I'll do the same thing with option two. And then I'll line them up side by side so you can see the two options together. Now, one thing to keep in mind when we're looking at logos, it's not just, well, I think that one looks nice, right? That's part of it. We definitely want it to be catchy to the eye, but it's also, you think of branding and you think of strength of how something can stand on its own, even if words aren't around it. You can really brand something with a strong logo. Where we will take whatever we choose and we will make it a brand that is so concise, so consistent, so protected, that in this community especially, you'll be able to see something, a brochure, a flyer, something about, hey, we're having an event over at the landing, and you'll be able to see that brand out of the corner of your eye, and you'll know exactly where that thing must be held. Like it will resonate with people over time. Okay? So, option one. Obviously, we've got the name, Morristown Landing Recreation and Events. The icon M there, this one has a lot of depth to it if you'll dig in on it. So it's got the M off obviously buried in there. It's got the wings, kind of that aviation feel. It almost kind of looks like an eagle landing, coming in strong like that. If you can imagine too, that icon kind of look, that M, if I took the words away, that M will stand by itself. That will be on door placards, you know, for this event room, just that big M logo right there. Name tags for staff, M, you know, that image will become just iconic for the land. That's what that represents. Okay? So you can see it in an all white. We're showing it different ways. All white there on a brochure, if it was a dark background, as we promote different things to the community. And then you can see it on t-shirts, sweatshirts, you know, all those different merchandise options will be part of kind of that pro shop feel, you know, where people are coming to get something out of it. Okay? And then back up to that. That is option 1. Okay? And this is not unlike the name. You know, you gotta let it sit for a second. Let it settle on you. Okay? So that's Morristown Landing, option 1. Option 2, a little more stamped looking, almost like a passport stamp, right? Morristown Landing. Got the wings feel. The 3 stars have been incorporated in a couple different places. In fact, we could take out 3 of them, so we just have 3 in there. So Morristown Landing Recreation Events. Now this one, there's no real, there's not the icon with it, right? The words have to be there. I mean, you could take out the circle and the stars right there and just have the Morristown Landing section and kind of trim it down a little bit or something on a door placard or things like that if you want to. So that would be, you know, in all white there on a dark background. And then on shirts, water bottles similar to the first one. So let me put them up side by side there so you can see. So I'm interested, just initial thoughts. I know in your role here, you're asked to be an expert on a whole bunch of things. But I don't have to have an expert, I just have to have opinions. So you're elected to share some of those too. So give me your first thoughts on 1 and 2 here.
I think the second was too busy.
Okay.
I agree.
Which one?
Second was too busy.
Yeah.
I like number 2.
Well, see, and we're here to have it. What do you like about them? What draws you?
The first one looks like one of those superhero things. I'm trying to figure out which one it is.
Okay.
See, Captain America, is that one you like?
That's what we are.
Is that what Mr. Potato Head and how they changed it?
Number 1 is much easier to read.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, it seemed like it stood out more, which it's hard to see that it's one of those things on the end, like you really, as you say, have to concentrate on that. I don't know how many people are going to catch in.
Okay. Ken, what do you think?
I think number 1 is more classy. I think number 2 is a little busy. Got a little more than we need maybe on 2. But, yeah, I think 1 is classy.
All right. Business, you got any thoughts?
I agree with Ken.
That's always a safe place to stand. Mr. Gary, you got any thoughts about it? Yeah.
Either one's fine, but I guess it points on preference. But I think you want to, we can make it work.
Gary, Mr. Gary?
Either one.
Either or a third option? Well, I think the majority of people have talked about number, I don't think either one of them are bad. Logo. But now that you've spoken, I'll chime in if that's okay. I get to look at a lot of things.
Here's what I like most about it, for one, if you remove the letters, just the logo, people will instantly know what it is.
That's right. That's right.
Well, the same words we use on each one.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think that's big.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. And I don't think we need D, to be honest with you. I think if D is just another word, people get the D, you don't have to put it in the logo. I'll be honest, guys, I get to do this. I'm not a marketing expert, but the marketing team has to submit them to me before I'll submit them to you. And the first couple rounds that came to me, it was, which one do you like? I was like, neither. Let's go back. So I sent them back a couple times and they kept thinking, but I will say, in my opinion, we have 19 different facilities with logos that we've helped develop. I think 17 of them. We inherited a couple of facilities that we have. I would say I'll put this in the top 2 logos, the option 1, in our whole portfolio. I think it's that strong. And when I talk about using it across different methods, whether it be print, whether it be single color, multicolor, whether it be apparel, whether it be name tags, door placards, all the things that has to go on, it's going to be, it can be iconic. It really can. It's a strong brand. We certainly can send it back and make sure that the M's clear, but I kind of like the subtleness of it, that it's not too clear. I like, you have to, if you all have those little placards that say Jesus in them, got the little popsicle sticks in there, it's kind of got a little bit of that going on to it, you have to focus on it, but I kind of like that about it. So, anyway, if we're good with one, that will free our team up to really do some diving in and show you a bunch more stuff and really start building up the brand board if we can get there. Is that?
Let me ask you,
Yeah.
is the wording of the yellow underneath it?
I'm sorry.
Your blue and yellow are the 2 colors we're going to go with?
We will have, well, and I'll show you that, we'll have like a standard one, if it is blue and yellow, or it could be the deeper gold, kind of like the city logo, if we wanted to go kind of a deeper, because the yellow, my feedback to is the yellow gets a little washed out on a white backdrop, so I think it does need to either be a little deeper gold, or even have an outline to it, or something that makes it pop on a light background.
So you're trying to mirror the colors in the new logo?
Well, we didn't try and nail it, but we wanted it to be in the family. We didn't try and take those colors and put it exactly on this, but, play in the same arena as it.
I think it does capture your flying. It looks like,
Right.
in your history, you're going to do the World Flying Machine too. That's part of Morristown.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I think that's part of the placard. I think that's part of the whole story. Yeah, that's exciting to me. It just, I'm going to tell you, for myself, Sean, others, it just gives such clear direction to play. As you're trying to figure this out, it just, and as we talked about, suspending planes, whatever, it's like, man, I'm glad we didn't go for trains. That would have been harder to suspend. But no, I think this gives us a great direction.
I think we have to remember though, that I like your concept of what you're saying, but we are more than aviation.
Oh, for sure.
And I would not like to see, it just beats everything in there be aviation.
No, you're right.
There's other history of course.
The aviation is in the logo and a cool little aspect of the building. But yeah, you're exactly right. And there's things that we've done in other facilities that I really like. And it can be different rooms. It can be the boardroom. It can be, a long hallway, the Champions Hallway or whatever. We had one in Wisconsin that they had multiple high schools, college, and they're like, man, we really want to bring everything together. So they had Coca-Cola sponsor, in this case, the cafe. It was the Champions Cafe. And it was just, they redid old newspaper clippings of different championships that Morristown East had won, and Morristown West, and Carson Newman, and Walter Stetton. just brought it all together, and so everybody there was like, oh, hey, that's, I remember, you know. So things like that we'll do to kind of make sure we bring the community together. That's a good point, Mr. Fitzpatrick, I appreciate that. So, given that, as we move into next steps, this is the very next step that I want to propose to you, if I could, is our groundbreaking event. It needs to happen sometime yesterday. We broke the ground. I don't know if you know that, the ground is broken. So we're proposing basically 2 weeks from today at 9 a.m. at the construction site to have a groundbreaking event. We've already, the part we're missing is the logo put on there, so I show both logos at the top. But we've already designed an invitation to go out. We've already began working on an invitation list. It won't be a huge event, obviously, in this climate, but probably 50 or 60 people that we'll have spread out there. The main purpose of this, obviously it's a feel-good event, it's exciting, you know, to have your shovel and your hard hat with the logo on it, photo ops, but it's about getting the media there, obviously newspaper, local TV, Knoxville news stations, getting all them there and getting the publicity out and getting excitement started. And in conjunction with that, we will want to go ahead and have a landing page created that we put out to the media so people can start going there, because all that leads to what I'll show you is starting to build that database of contacts that you're going to be putting all your information out to. The database is king in any facility. As you market events and programming and different offerings and memberships, it's about having a database to stay in contact with and getting information out to via email, social media, other ways. So, we did say 9 o'clock, right?
9 o'clock.
9 o'clock on the 12th. So, initial feedback on that is that the reason we need to decide is because you got to get on the media calendar and you got to put it out there. We said 9 o'clock so that we could meet deadlines for the paper and things like that. If you wait too late today, you start pushing those deadlines and might not make it. And it is scheduled for outdoors. There's no magic there, you know. Will it rain? Will it not? A different day. Will it rain? Will it not? Right. But 2 weeks out, I don't trust any weather app to tell me for sure what's going to happen. Good?
Sounds good.
Okay. All right. Let me move into some next steps here. Man, I'm blowing my time away. I'm killing it. I'm doing so good. We need to get in the weeds for a while. So I want to show you just some next steps that are coming up, kind of keep you guys in the loop with what we'll be bringing back and decision points you'll have. So obviously the next one I just mentioned is groundbreaking, right? So that planned now for March 12th, 9 a.m. There'll be different photo ops. Just come ready to smile and look pretty. That'll be the only real work there. But now certainly I'll be there, Eric will be there, Mike Mays from our team will be there, who's been helping on the construction side, furniture, fixture, equipment, and sports equipment, all that stuff. So we'll have some representatives here, obviously Sean and his team, and Tony, and all these guys. Everybody will be there, all the different photo ops will be there, and certainly the media may want to interview any of us, right? So just be ready to say a good word, and we all get the word out to that group. Now, the next part, big, laborious part, quite frankly, on our part is website design and build. And the first part of that is just a landing page. It'll just be a one page. Here's a quick synopsis of it. Sign up for our newsletter. Sign up to receive more information. Put your email in, kind of thing. So we can start building that database. Right? We have secured MorristownLanding.com. We have purchased that URL as a holding spot. Certainly if somebody's got a different idea, we can explore that too, but that seemed like a pretty natural, easy one to grab that fit the name. So we've got that on hold at $12 a year, I think, is the fee. So we went ahead and took that leap. Then, based on the feedback and logo, our marketing team will build a brand board. And I don't know if you've had a lot of experience with brand boards, so I'm going to do show and tell. Here's one, and I'll zoom in on it here in a second. for one of our venues in New Jersey, Apex Sports and Events. And so what our marketing team will do, they will, well, laser printer doesn't work on the screen. They will put in, there's the main colors, right? But then there's secondary colors when you need to accent a logo that they will define. Hey, these are the main colors. These are secondary colors that can support our logo, right? They will go into the logo and say, here's what it's supposed to look like on a dark background. Here's what it's supposed to look like on a light background. Here's what it's supposed to look like one color on a light and a dark background. And then textures that can be used with that logo and coloring that would be permitted. And then we'll even go into the typography. We'll define what text, what fonts define our logo, not just our logo, but our brand. So what's used in all of our marketing pieces, what's used when it's a title text. All these things will be defined, and they will be rigidly protected by our team. If somebody wants to use our logo, here is our logo that you may use when we grant it. Don't just snap our logo off the page and throw it on something, right? Like if you're promoting an event, here you go. Here's your package to promote your event with our logo and our font package, those kind of things that will define our brand. And all the best brands that you know and love are rigidly protected on how they're put out. You know, you don't see Apple. There's an iPhone, you know what that font looks like when you see the word iPhone, right? And you don't see it typed a different way. It's not put in a different. Let's put it in a curlicue font. No, iPhone is this, right? And we'll do the same thing with our. Be very defined. Okay? Any questions on the brand board? Our marketing team, I can't say enough. I'll brag on because I don't have anything to do with it. They are the best. They are actually top tier. They win awards after awards for their work in that field. We've got a great asset in them for sure. So back to our next steps. After the brand board, and really in conjunction with all of that, we're building that, setting up that database. It's not constant contact, but we would use one like that, content manager or something. Anyway, it's what we send our monthly. The facility has a monthly newsletter that goes out to them what's coming up next, and get people excited about when memberships are coming or whatever. That our marketing manager will manage early on, and there's not a ton to say early on, but as we hire a marketing person for the venue, they'll take ownership of that and build that monthly newsletter and push that out to that database. And there's, like any database, there's opt-in, opt-out. We don't flood anybody with anything. Then we are about, let's call it March 1st. We're about 2 months out from our first job postings. Now, the postings I give, if I want to hire somebody for July 1, I post a job 8 weeks prior to that, is my experience. And quite frankly, if I find somebody faster, I can still say, well, start date's July 1. So it doesn't cost anything. But general manager will be the major hire that we're talking about that typically is on board 1 year out. The reason that is there's a boatload of items to get done in preparation for a venue opening. Obviously hiring other staff and training them, but just knowing the community too, being at every event, every social gathering, just getting embedded. I have yet, it doesn't mean it can't happen, but I have yet to have a GM come from the city that they are managing the venue. It just hasn't happened. Doesn't mean it can't. We'll take all applicants for sure, but it's just not been my experience. That has someone sitting in that community. Usually it's a new venture, right? To build a $35-40 million building and all the things you want to happen. You usually don't have that experience just sitting there waiting to take over that. Can happen, but not been my experience. So to get that GM and their family relocated, moved in, find a place, get to know people, start bouncing around, interacting, because by the time it opens, you want the GM to be, oh yeah, that's Fred, right? Fred, man, everybody knows Fred. Fred's the landing guy, whatever. So to get them ingrained in the community and to understand Morristown to a deeper level is It's really important. I will tell you, I've had, not intentionally really, but I've had 2 GM interviews, informal interviews already that are just because people are interested. I know you're building Morristown. I'd like to be considered. And one of them is over all special events at Disney World. This is has been his job up until recently, I think. With COVID, there's been a lot of changes, but and he has been the assistant general manager in one of our facilities at Rocky Top previously. And another is, I'm telling you, COVID has given us a whole new pool of people. Unfortunately, for most, fortunately for us, I guess, that pool of people. But this guy was a regional director for the YMCA. And as I talked to him, you know, I knew this anyway, but man, it just came on more and more like, man, I tell you, with our fitness component, with our aquatics, our memberships component, having a YMCA background, a strong YMCA background is a pretty good play. I mean, he's going to be really familiar with how all that needs to work. So anyway, not locked in on those 2 people at all, but they are 2 candidates that will want to have their name in the hat. That already starts the pool pretty strong. So hiring a GM it makes all the difference. When you got a good GM, you put the numbers on paper, I'll say we'll get there. And if when you don't have a good GM, and it's a lot of work. It's a lot of extra work for everybody. So
Greg, let me ask you this question, and then you can answer just in kind of a nutshell, Reader's Digest terms. What's the difference in your duties and the duties of the general manager?
Yeah, the general manager will report to me, right? So they will live here in the community, be running the venue day in and day out. I will be training them, making sure they are putting all best practices that they're learning as we learn stuff at other venues. It's getting instituted into here. And then all of our home office team, marketing, finance, legal, sponsorships, all those experts there. I'm the quarterback, if you will, as things are needed here. I'm like, well, let me pull in him, let me pull in this piece. We've got some sponsorship stuff up here that are interested in a Southeast regional sponsorship, so that can be, you know, these 5 venues, including Morristown, that can get dollars from that. Let's plug you guys into that. So I'm accountable to for this venue. The GM then is executing my direction in the venue, day to day. Does that make sense? So that's a good question. The other 2 positions that are usually about a year out, finance, maybe 10 months out, finance manager, because as we're setting up all the accounting systems and all these, there's a pre-opening budget of getting stuff done, and so the finance person, you want them to be very familiar with things from the very beginning. Keeping track of all that and making sure we're above board on all the reporting and IRS taxes and all those things. P&L sheets. So we'll have monthly P&Ls that we'll produce for you guys, monthly financial reports that we'll produce. You'll see how things are going every month. And then the business development director, that's who is in charge of filling the place up. That's their job. Booking events, booking tournaments, selling sponsorships, booking birthday parties, fill this place up. Go develop the business and fill it up, right? And the GM, you'll essentially have 2 of those people because the GM will work hand in hand with them early on. Now, as we bring in more staff, and now you've got the cafe going, and you've got fitness going, and you've got aquatics going, and the GM's now overseeing all of that, right? So they can't just live over here in business development. They've got to make sure daily operations are going well, and customer service, and all of the things are humming, right? And they get pulled deeper into whatever's not working right, right? Which is always something that needs the most attention. But those are the main people, and we won't take you through the whole process of, you got to kiss a lot of frogs to find the right person, but when we do find the final 1 or 2 people, we would love to bring those in front of you and get your feedback, let you ask questions of them. Certainly not do an interview in this kind of setting, but have a couple people sit with them and ask questions, whoever wants to be the most involved in that, and bring a recommendation back to things. And there you go. That's my last slide. Questions? And if there's something you wanted to know about or any questions regarding the operation of the venue, that I can answer for them.
So you said that if anybody wants to use the logo, they have to get permission.
That's right. Yes, ma'am. Yeah, we'll guard that on your behalf. I mean, it's your logo, but yeah, you will want that, yeah, to have it protected. All right, that's my cue.
Thank you. All right, a couple of things. Remember, 2 weeks, groundbreaking. We'll have a ceremony. That will be the formal unveiling of the logo. Please don't, it'll be tweaked a little bit perhaps. It'll be put on the branding, but we'll go ahead and have the groundbreaking and unveiling of the logo at that point in time. I just have to say, Greg and his team are great to work with, a lot of energy, very professional and outstanding. I think we'll continue to see this level of success as we go through. But we'll take now a second while Sean gets set up, and he's going to talk to you, as I said earlier, about some projects with Bldng Park. We've asked him to discuss that, as well as an update on the physical building and some of the issues we're running into with the construction of the land. So we'll try and stay here, get through this one. And then
You're okay, come on.
Sorry.
You're fine. No, I got some out in the car.
Okay,
Hey.
so that was pretty exciting, the Morristown landing. As Greg mentioned, we've got some really good ideas. We're really excited to see what we can do. I'm going to first talk about Bolton Hill, and then I'll give you the construction update. So yesterday, beautiful day, great day to be out there. John, my colleague, and I went out and we marked a trail that I'll talk about shortly. The park is being utilized. Beautiful day for doing a little Tai Chi in the park, it looks like. So what we've been doing, we've been working on updating the master plan based on all the trees that has been planted, the cherry trees that continued on up 6th Avenue, some of the legacy trees. We've also, as we talked last time I was up in front of you guys, looking at a mile's worth of trail. So yesterday, John and I went out and spent a good amount of time walking in the trail that we have it up here on the screen, and it's actually probably pretty hard to see. The trail winds back through the woods, and the red dots on the screen are the many access points that we are connecting to the 2 parking lots and to the existing sidewalks in the upper lawn. But we have the trail. It starts, if you want to start in the upper parking lot, you would get on the trail, walk along the perimeter of the park along your new cherry trees, all the way around towards the back of the upper lawn, and then you make your way through, winding through the woods. There's lots of very mature oak trees, pine trees that are huge. So we were sure to wind the trail around those, looking at the grades, making sure there's some very steep ravines back in there. So we're trying to make sure that we're keeping the trail nice and soft to avoid any dangerous areas. So we marked that trail out there with little flags right now. If any of you want to go on a little bit of an adventure back through the woods, it is pretty thick woods, so it definitely needs to be cleared out. But right now, where we are, after walking through, we have a few adjustments to the plans on that trail that we're going to make, and then we will be able to go ahead and get that bid package together to get a GC out there to actually install the trail. So they'll come out and use probably a bobcat or some other machinery and grade that in. There will be a few little drainage culvert crossings that will do. I think we can avoid building any bridges or making anything significant like that. It's going to be a primitive walking trail. There was one location that we will likely have to add some, almost like stairs, but we usually utilize like landscape timbers, and they're larger steps kind of back in the woods for one steep area. So I just want to give you a bit of an update. Again, the key takeaways are we're connecting to your existing sidewalk and walking path out there, and we're utilizing both parking lots so people can come in and park in either one and get on the trail.
Can you show me on one of the red dot in the upper parking lot, how I connect, do I walk all the way down here?
You would park in the upper parking lot. The trail would literally be right off the parking lot, so you would just kind of, I think there's the large boulders at the end of that road and parking lot. It'd basically be right out of that.
I was just thinking the only trail was that you have those white dots, but that's not true.
No, the dots are the entry points of where you would start from.
I'm sorry, the white line. So you're saying the trail comes closer to those red dots than is shown on the map?
The white line's the property line.
Oh yeah, the white line's your property. I'm sorry.
The trail's a black line. You look
Yeah,
real close to the trees.
It's really hard to see the line on there.
Thank you.
I
That's all
apologize.
that was sort of, that helps to know which is which. Thank you.
But it is about a mile. We've got it measured out, so.
And then we've talked about the track teams and looking at the elevations, the track team can use this cross-country team.
Yeah, and I think the track team, Craig, do you know that are they running back there right now? So there appears to be an existing kind of wider, clear road.
To my knowledge, they have not. I mean, there might be some freelancers, but no organized activity. They're running somewhere else, I think.
Well, right now, off the back of the Great Lawn, there's kind of an existing road that goes up to the water tower. We're going to utilize that road. I mean, it's great. It's ready to go.
And the surface can be a natural surface.
It'll just be a natural dirt limited trail.
Beginning and end don't coincide, right?
What do you mean?
It's a loop.
There is a loop back in the woods. We have a loop through the woods, a smaller route, but for the overall 1 mile length, they do not connect. But we are providing a little bit of a connection from the lower parking lot up to the path that winds up through the pines to the Great Lawn. So you would then transition to the existing sidewalks. So that would make the connection.
How long is the trail, 6 feet?
It's probably going to vary between 3 to 6 feet. It's going to be the size of the machinery that goes in. John, do you know how wide the trail is?
It's 5 or 6 foot in most cases.
It's a primitive trail. It's not going to be paved. It's just going to be a cleared out, graded out walking path.
And we will not want to have bicycles on this trail.
That will be up to you guys. We'll have to post the rules if you want to prevent bicycles to get on there. That would be up to you guys.
It's the first time I'm seeing it, so that's why I'll question.
Well, generally, the park has no bicycles in it, so, but if you did bring in that trail element, you could have some decision to make too.
Yeah, you would want to post it if you wanted to prohibit bicycles.
And I can see the dots too, with the restroom, and where it's at as well. I can see that loop being connected through the concrete sidewalk and so forth too, so I think it gives you an option.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is it just going to be a dirt surface, you say, or nothing on that?
It'll be a mulch wood chip from when they're clearing the path.
Oh, okay.
Just that they'll be chipping out all the wood and kind of putting it down for that. But it is a primitive path. It won't be paved or anything.
Won't be mud.
Not the first couple of years.
Okay.
It's more like a walk in the woods as opposed to walking a sidewalk.
The other component component that you asked us to take a look at was 2 signs for the park. So we provided 2 different sign options. These are the 2 signs, and I'll go back to the plan here to show you the locations we discussed. One sign was going to be down on Cumberland and 6th, right here, where you make the turn, and another one at the entry. These are not the grand monument sign for the park, because your later phases, you plan to have its own drive entry off of Cumberland. So that sign we're saving for when you make that road, the main entry. These 2 signs are wayfinding, place making signs. So these 2 options today are just to get your feedback and get an understanding of kind of which direction you would like to go, and we'll take those comments, do another round, fine tune any comments you might have. One sign, the brick in the heavy timber wood with the hanging Fulton Hill Park sign and the city emblem. That sign's a little bit more substantial than a simple classic black steel metal sign here. The intent behind this sign was to try and play off of the brick that's up at the main plaza for the colonnade. Of course, what we're looking at for the simpler, more classic sign was to play off of the historic sign that was placed out there initially, and it does have a little bit of some ties back to historic markers that you see around town, kind of just a historic sign. So you can tell that it's a very simple, plain sign, and this one's a little bit more decorative, a little bit more interesting. So just kind of wanted to give you 2 swings of the spectrum, and again, based on your comments, we'll go back and implement these, get another round, and bring it back for you to look at.
Do you have a price on those?
We do not at this time. Once we kind of get a direction, we'll then be pricing the sign for you guys. But we do understand that you have a fine-tuned budget for both the trail and the signs in your budget this year.
Is this, I guess Tony, it's a question for you, we've gotten close to doing the 2 brick columns, as you know, with the gate.
But the gate project was not included in this year's plan.
But I mean, it does not mean that we're not going to do it.
No. We've got a long list of things we're going to do, but short term, in this fiscal year, we talked about being able to do the trail and sign.
I would think you would suggest that we do the same type sign at both locations.
Yes, absolutely. There will be 2 identical signs.
I personally would like to see us save our money for the big signs, because what I see there, the one on the left is substantially more expensive than the one on the right. And if we spend it all on those signs, then it's going to extend the time period to be able to build colonnades that you're talking about, columns that you're talking about. So,
Absolutely, and that was the intent, to provide a very simple, classic sign.
I think the one on the left is probably as much as we put into the park, and I can see that from the entrance being down the road a little bit. I think we need to, and I know it's more expensive, but I think that, we'll get 3 to 5 years probably use out of it, and it'll still be there, it's not going to go away. But I think the difference in price, I realize there's quite a bit of difference, but still, it's not like the sitting Cadillac there or something.
That's why I asked about the price.
Well, obviously, this is going to be a more expensive, more involved sign. It's got brick masonry, you've got heavy timber. The sign itself those costs, but the sign itself will be.
It just makes more of a statement for one of that.
It does, but Remember, these are your place-making signs, it's not gonna be your future main sign.
Will they still be used though?
Yes, these are permanent.
Yes, that's what I thought, yeah. I think it needs to be first class.
Could you put the oval on the other side?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I think the oval's a better looking sign. If we opted for a lesser price like that.
I think having the price would not make a decision.
But, we are charged to stay within your budget for this work in this fiscal year. That includes the trail and the 2 signs.
What was our budget for the sign?
The overall budget for both, for the whole project, I think, was 50.
And I'm sure you divided out what you thought the signs should cost.
No, we said we thought we can get the boat done, but I don't have itemized costs.
And that's for me to bring to you, but, our plan is, when we actually price the sign, we'll send it out to get real numbers. That trail will be kind of making up the difference. So is it a 1.5 trail, does it go to 3/4 mile trail? We'll be working within your fiscal budget to make the trail and the 2 signs happen.
One of the things about the sign itself is naming of the park facility has changed over time. People had not bought into it. It's hard to make reference to Fulton Hill Park, and people say, oh, yes, I know where that is. We need something to begin to entrench the name in the minds of people, and having a sign at the entrance is going to be important for that. So we need to get something going there just to begin to kind of drill that into people's minds when we're starting to point people in that direction for events or whatever, and they say, where is that? I've never heard of that. We need to overcome that hurdle.
I think if you're driving out Cumberland Street, and you see one of those 2 signs, one on the left is going to entice me more to go up and see what's that Fulton Hill than the other.
It shows more that you care, that they're in the state. That's why I'm going to cost.
Well, they have $50,000 budget.
It's got to be within your $50,000 budget.
If we've got $50,000 budget, surely, goodness, just a little front end loader or whatever going in there to build a trailer is going to leave us a substantial amount of money to build signs.
Well, those 2 signs, I don't think are going, I mean, they're going to be substantial, but.
No, this is a very affordable option, let me tell you.
And that other one, I don't think.
It's not going to break the bank, but you will have you'll have two subs under the DC that come out. You'll have the one that actually puts up the sign, then you'll bring out a mason. So there's a little bit of more cost associated with that. One thing to keep in mind too, these are supposed to be permanent signs, so at your direction. It'd be much easier that if you decide to move these signs in the future, moving a pole and keeping it intact is doable versus a masonry-based sign. Just something food for thought. But the intent is these are permanent fixture signs.
As we go forward, getting cost and getting some feedback for you, do we have a preference? Do you got a direction you want to go? 1 or 2?
Well, I'll change my mind. I think the thing we ought to do is, if we want to go with a nicer sign, come back with a price on, I don't like the idea of saying we're going to spend this amount on signs, and then whatever we have left, we'll build a 3/4 mile track, or we'll build a 1.5 mile track. We're going to build a track, a nice track. That's what the track teams and all those people have wanted, and that's what we need to do. We need a price on both of those before we can make a decision.
Well, he's telling us that their job is to fit it in that 50,000, both of them.
Yeah, but what they're saying is that if we go with this, then we're going to end up with a 1/2 mile trail. If the price is
The direction was a 1 mile trail.
Right, that's what they've got proposed.
But we have a finite budget to work within for 2 signs in that mile trail. So tell you what I'm hearing is, I'm not hearing opposition, I'm hearing some nice favorable comments towards a nicer sign, obviously, but you're not ready to make a decision without the number. Is that what
We're not ready to make a decision because you haven't given us the information. The
So-
information is how much does it cost to build a mile trail between the two of those signs?
Thomas, the sign on the left up there, sign shop here could make a half dozen of those in a week. That's not a complicated construction project.
No.
I don't want you to pay $57 a sign.
No. It's not 50 for the sign, it's for everything we're doing in the park this year. That's the trail and 2 signs.
The sign is a simple construction, you might see that. That's not.
the cost, the bulk of the cost is lying with one line.
Cost of that sign is?
I'm sorry,
You
please.
have no idea what the cost of that sign is.
I have a range. I don't want to throw out numbers. We don't build signs, so I come to you with actual true numbers.
When you present something like that, I think it's usually you would have the price for it. Because if it's part of it all, seems like.
Okay. Well, I tell you what, I would. So the comments I heard is we like the oval placard, so we'll put the oval placard on the other one, and I'll get a price for both. And I'll come back with those and talk about which one we want to move forward.
We don't want to reduce the mile trail.
Why don't we do this? I agree that the sign on the left is the eye catcher, it's the quality, and it serves the purpose of people driving by and looking at it, and if they're starting to associate the name Fulton Hill instead of saying the park formerly known as Heritage. We need to instill that in the psyche of where that park is, and I think that's the quality side to do it. Why don't you just put what the price of the mile trail, the price of the sign is, and bring it to us, and we'll see how much money we gotta make up, and we can make a decision on that. Sound workable?
That's too simple.
Thank you.
We can argue that all day.
Okay. So I'll give you a little bit of an update on the Morristown Landing. As you've been hearing, construction is ongoing, that large rumble, the trucks are breathing in the field, and that's the vibration in the dump truck to get all the dirt out. So they aren't blasting yet, they'll be blasting very soon to excavate for the pool. Foundations will be coming in, I think, next week. So progress is happening over there. A few items that I wanted to give you an update on. When we brought the construction contract in front of you to council for approval, we noted that there were a few permits we were still working through. We have almost all permits in hand except for the health department, which is resubmitted. We're just waiting for them to go through the full review. 2 items to note. Again, as we mentioned when we were proposing on the GC to award and start construction, was the state fire marshal's review comments. We did receive approval from them. Some of those comments we are working through with the GC to satisfy. None of those comments are changing anything with the layout of the facility, the design of the facility, but we have to provide additional fire protection for the structure of the building. So we are working with the contractor to understand what that is. So in this is an opportunity, I guess is what I'm going to say. As you look up in this room, you see the exposed structure. It's a very industrial feel. All that exposed structure in this community center, due to its size, has to be protected. In doing that, a way to protect it is to provide a ceiling. So that protects it from fire and it cleans it up, makes it look a lot nicer. So we're working through to understand what the best option to satisfy the state fire marshal's comments and to improve the facility. We're likely going to be able to bring that to you soon, but I do have some images of what that could look like in the facility. The other permit, as I mentioned, the health department is reviewing the pool drawings. There were no changes to the layout or anything like that. We've got all the comments back into them. We're just waiting for that final approval. As you know, the building permit's issued. The notice of coverage for the site obviously is approved. That's why the work is going on. And we have approval from the FAA. So construction is blowing good. Of course, you've seen all these renderings before. The splash pad. Here's a little bit at night. We're working. We designed this to have a bunch of lighting at night. So this facility, I don't know if you recall, in some of my previous presentations, at night this building will really light up and come alive and be really colorful and exciting. Something that I'm really excited for. This is the front entry. As you may recall, we're looking to have a partnership space right up front by the front door. Still working through to understand what that partner is going to be, but they will have their own entry and windows right at the front of the building. So it'll be a really nice interaction between the community center and the partnership space. So this is a shot right inside the front doors, as I was mentioning earlier. This is what it would look like with an actual ceiling instead of the exposed raw steel structure. It really cleans up the space, takes it to that nice level. It's something that I think is going to be a very nice solution to satisfy the state fire marshal and use as an opportunity to improve the facility.
What is that ceiling?
Yes.
That is a chip drywall ceiling that will be painted just like this. There are, and I'll show some of the later slides, in the larger areas, the main roof ceiling in this lobby, in the gymnasium, and in the natatorium will be providing an acoustical ceiling to help with the sound. You can notice in here we have a lot of reverb and echo. And we're looking at this again, an opportunity to help mitigate some sound, clean up the space, really, really help the user experience. But on this first floor level, underneath the second floor, that'll be a drip, and that's your fire rating. Drywall, layers of drywall has a fire rating associated with it, so that's how we're achieving it in some of the spaces.
In the natatorium, that will have to be a different ceiling because of moisture?
Yes. So what we're looking at providing, you can see the color is not selected yet, but right now we're showing this gold. We'll be working with Greg and his team with branding colors to bring it all together. But we're looking at this analyzed system that has the acoustic rating to again help mitigate the sound. These are very large spaces. As you know, you get some big echoes in larger rooms. So the idea behind this ceiling is this product is a metal panel, a wave metal panel product that is made to simulate like you're underwater, the ripples looking back up. So there's sound benefits, there's an aesthetic benefit, and a fire rating benefit.
And that still allows people who are walking the track to see what's going on.
Yes, I'll flip over. So in the gym, we were not going to put the metal panel in the gym. We're providing a very heavy-duty acoustic sound panel to really help the sound of bouncing basketballs. It's a very large gym, but it will clean up. It'll fit right between the main trusses and clean up all of the metal decking like you see in this room.
What will this do to our budget?
That's what I'm working to understand with the contractor right now. So again, I don't have numbers to share with you today, but we're working with the contractor to understand what that does to the budget and what our options are. was to seek approval from the state fire marshal due to the size of the building, not change the layout or design of the building from a functionality operation standpoint. We didn't, at this point, we are not moving any walls, we're not changing any rooms. It's just a fire protection application that we're trying to figure out the best aesthetic and sound mitigation opportunity that accomplishes the fire mitigation. So I will be coming back in front of you to present with the contractor what those changes look like. But we have a meeting next week to run through all of that and look at what the options are.
So before this, we didn't have this feature included?
No, you did not. It was very much similar to the condition in this space, in this room here.
But the fire marshal turned us down.
When we doubled the size of the gym and provided the additional meeting rooms, it grew the square footage of the building to a point where it kicked us into a different construction type facility. And that requirement was to rate the steel structure of the building. Can't have the exposed metal, unfortunately. So we're looking at all the options. There's very expensive treatments that we're trying to avoid, which could be a paint product so you still have the look. The most cost-effective solutions are to box out around and then close with a gym wall. So you're encapsulating all the structure. That's going to be the most cost-effective method. But trying to turn this into an opportunity to improve the facility rather than just checking the box. So nothing has been selected at this point. Again, we'll be coming back in front of you with those options to understand what they are, and we can actually decide pick and choose which treatments we want to do. But I wanted to give you an update of what we're looking at right now.
But we do have to do something in each of the areas that you mentioned.
You do not have to do anything with the sound mitigation. The requirement is to enclose and protect the steel structure of the building, the exposed trusses of the roof.
Now, did I understand right on the gym? I was thinking you said that those trusses there won't be covered with it.
So some of these trusses we're looking at, the solutions are either a spray fire protection product where you spray the steel, or you can paint it with almost like a candy coated shell paint that has a fire protection rating with it. So we're not going to be able to fully enclose all the structure. We're going to have to do some applied product to the main trusses. That's in both the natatorium in the pool and in the gym.
Was that already figured in?
That was not.
And that would be applied obviously before the construction.
Correct. Those are applied, the primer coats are applied at the factory. The steel is formed, they put the primer coats, it comes out, and then they put on the fire protection spray painting in the field once everything's erected, because you gotta cover all the bolts, all the weld points, so the final application is done when it's erected.
Does that have to have a warranty?
It will have a warranty. I think it's at least a 20-year. I mean, it's a significant warranty.
And then obviously, it's the fire chief would answer that, a guarantee that it would withstand a certain level of heat.
Yes, yeah, it has to have a special rating that the product to even be utilized, to be approved. Now, I do want everyone to realize that this isn't just a straight add in the cost of the project. So please understand, in the natatorium, we had to treat all the steel with a special coating of paint so it didn't get eaten away with the chlorine fumes. So with this fire protection paint, it's a trade-off. So we still have the same primer, but instead of painting it with the chlorine protection, we're using a different product that still protects from the chlorine, but it also has the fire mitigation properties. So, and that's what we're working through with the GC. So all of these items, these changes that we're talking about, there's going to be a give and take. So, but I'm not prepared until we're having the GC price out everything and come to you with options. No one likes to be back in the corner and say, this is absolutely what we have to do. So, but please understand that we're working through, we don't just want to, again, treat it for fire protection and miss out on an opportunity to enhance the facility as well. So again, want to stress also that we have not changed the layout of the facility. Walls have not moved. The design, the functionality is all as we decided and move forward with. And, it's gonna be great. You can't wait to apply the branding and all the colors. One of the conversations Greg and I had was to think about what we can do with the colors and painting on the walls. And, there's lots of opportunities, so it's going to get really exciting. And we'll be updating all these renderings to come back and show you what that's actually going to look like inside the facility.
When we get down to the equipment, like the exercise room, is that you or is that Greg's group?
That's Greg's group.
And will we, I guess that's a great question, we want an opportunity to have input to the level of the kind of equipment that we want to put in that room?
We'll bring a recommendation of, based on, facilities around the country, we'll bring a recommendation of, in this facility, we recommend this many treadmills, this many, and what the total package of materials, we'll bring that to you, and then certainly you can speak into, hey, what about this? Do you have a crowd
So
there?
maybe do it in stages if we need to, for one.
I'm sorry.
The number of pieces of equipment can be done in stages.
Well, you can always buy, you can get more equipment later or whatever, certainly you can do that. We'll get the best deal on things that will get them in one order, we'll get the most significant price break as opposed to making smaller purchases down the road. But there'll be some things we want to trade. This fitness industry evolves and changes. There'll be the next, everybody's doing this now. You want to stay up to date on that. But generally, we want to get the whole thing furnished at one time, and then we'll have contingency capital purchases.
And I guess I'm guessing we're involved in each one of those steps.
Absolutely.
And furniture, fixtures, and equipment is part of the overall package, the budget we've got, which is already good, it's part of SFM, working with the contractor and designer. So there's a lot of people moving to get things rolling. But there's, as you can gather, there's a lot of components to make this facility come out of the ground. All right. Anything else for Sean this morning?
We put the pool wiggers, the loose rock in the last out, right?
Hopefully.
Okay.
We're about to find out.
Either way, it's being blasted, so it's coming out.
If you look out the window, you can see that the area is staked out there for the exterior walls. That's what those stakes are. That's the perimeter of the building. So pools on that side, they're getting ready to dig down. So, all right, folks, we're doing very, very well. We'll take a break. We'll be back at 10:30, ready to roll with kickoff.
You're all right.
If we have to, we want to do it.
No, I'm fine.
Okay.
I appreciate it though.
So thank you.